Welcome back, everyone. It is week 1, day 4. We're doing our afternoon lecture. We're continuing our intro to Flask. We're going to talk about routing now. And let's look at the schedule here. This is where we're beginning our lesson today, by the way. So if you want to navigate your way to here, I'm going to paste this in the chat. And we can all follow along. Okay, so let me pull up Visual Studio. And here is where we left off, right? So what have we done so far? We've learned how to create a virtual environment and how to install Flask, right? And so I need to ask you guys, what is the rule that we said about installing a virtual environment? Give me some couple rules here that we talked about.
Don't say the virtual environment globally.
Globally, okay. And second rule, don't nest them, right? Don't put in one virtual environment in inside another. Okay, so that's the first thing. And how do we create a virtual environment? What's the command to create a virtual environment?
I thought another rule was don't touch the .lock file or something like that.
Don't touch the dot. Oh, that is a rule once it's created, but I'm speaking about creating the environment itself.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's no good memory there. So yes, we learned how to create a virtual environment and how to get it running, right? So before we even do our command for pip env and installing Flask, we already mentioned it, but what do we need to do before we create a virtual environment?
We have to get into our folder.
Exactly. We want to be in the correct folder. And that means we have to create a designated folder for that environment. If we made the mistake we saw that I made earlier today, we'll have the virtual environment in a global setting and you can run it from anywhere. That's not good. Okay, so let's avoid doing that. And if you did do it, then you can follow along in the video on how to uninstall that mistake. So here we have creating a virtual environment with pip env and installing Flask. And we said in the chat, pip env install Flask. What does that do? That creates the virtual environment. Okay, that creates the virtual environment. Number 2, we need to activate the virtual environment. And then number 3, we were going to run the server file. Okay, so before we start driving the car, we need to know how to turn on and off the engine, right? So this is basically what we're going to do right now. We're going to turn on and off the engine. We are here. I'm going to start a new terminal. I'm going to just destroy this one. Here, come on, terminal. Here we are. So I open up a fresh terminal here and I say ls and I say cd to my desktop because that's where I put my file. And I say cd python 2. I already have one Python folder there. Okay, now I'm here. CD into hello Flask. So I want to change that directory into there. Tab hello Flask, enter. See what files I have here. So I'm in the right spot now. So I have a shortcut that I can open up Visual Studio Code this way. And here we are. So let's take a look at what we have. We left off by creating a virtual environment. Oops, sorry, come on. Magic mouse, not so magical. Here we are. Can you let me stretch? No. This is like the most agonizing thing here. Okay, here we are. There we go. So server.py. And we said this is our initial route. The @ sign is the decorator that associates this route, as it says here, with the function that's about to follow. So this is like a title saying app.route, and then go to this route for this function, and return hello world, or sorry, hello class. So let's make it world again. All right, hello world. So now we're in the file, right? As we are seeing here, this folder, we're in this area where the file, the pip lock, and the pip file are. So yes, we want to remember what Keisha said here about not touching this. Let's not touch this or this at all. Okay, let's leave it there. Where we work is in the files that we create called server.py. And the way that we created this file is by just like the way we'd create any file. We just click that file button, we name the file .py, and that's where you can start writing code for your server. Okay, and let's review a little bit more about what's on the server already. We have from Flask, import Flask. All right, this is what allows us to create our Flask. This here is the name of our app here, app, which is what we run here, app.run. This is what starts it. So we do need, this is essential to have in our code here. But the route that we see when we first start is this initial route. That's the base route here. And it's going to return hello world. So let's see this hello world on a browser. So we say ls, and then now that we're here, what do we do at this stage? I know we already answered, but give me the steps again, please. Just say it out loud here, so I know that we know it. You know, it's a lot like Blue's Clues when you guys don't speak back to me, you know, when he's speaking to the camera. Do you guys see the clue? What goes here? Pip env shell. Yes, yes, you got the right answer. I don't know if anyone else watched Blue's Clues. It was the child show when I was a kid growing up. Pip env shell. All right, and here we have our, this is what tells us that we are in the environment, okay? So the key's in the ignition. Now we need to turn it. Our environment's up and running. And we say, what now?
Python and then the file name.
There we go. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So the key has been turned, the ignition is on, the engine is running. Engine's running. Let's take a look then at what we have as our result. So I take that HTTP, I copy this here, and this, imagine that there's like a slash at the end. So that's our base route. So if I paste it in here, there it is. Here we are. Hello world. I know it's small, but it's there. Okay, we need to get to something a little bit more advanced than this, but at this point, we have a website running from a server, which is cool, which is different than what we had running in Web Fundamentals, right? Before, we were just looking at the file through our browser. Now we're actually running the file from a virtual environment. It's like a little computer within the computer. It's this environment that has its own spaces, that has its own rules. And whenever, let me just say something about what we're talking about as far as environments and servers. Whenever you see a website on the web, what is it? It's a website, it's a program, it's an environment that's running on a server somewhere, on a computer, hosted in some who knows where server place. Okay, it hosts a bunch of servers. But that server is running an environment that's running the program. So all the websites we're seeing are being hosted by some sort of environment that's running. And what we just did now is be able to host something from our own environment here. This is why it gives us this warning. This is a development server. Do not use it in a production development. So it's saying this is a server that allows us to develop, but don't use this for the final production. So this is a lot like this server then that we would see running, except for that difference there. It's not a production deployment server, it's a development server. So it has to be similar in that regards. And so let's take a poll check. How well do we understand where we are at this point so that we can continue with today's lesson? We haven't really learned anything new. This is just a review from this morning. So I'll launch a poll. Please tell me how well we understand how to get here so far. Okay, this is better than what this morning was. I'm liking the results. You know, don't just give me a high number to appease me here, but I really want to help you guys. Okay, so again, we have our server running. How do we stop it? Let's just review this real quick and then we'll move on. How do we stop it?
Control C.
Control C. Okay. And there's
Exit.
one more step.
Exit.
Yes, sir. Okay, so now I know we're all here. We know how to start and stop the engine. It's like, think of it like an inflatable bounce house, right? You can't jump in the house unless it's inflated, right? I can't start the environment. I can't jump in there until the place is inflated. So let's start the environment again. Pip env shell, pip env shell. Python 3 server.py. Okay, so we're here. Now let's learn about today's lesson. Okay, so now where's the other file thing here? Okay, so let's continue. Let's learn about routing, because at this point we only have one route. We learned about the decorator. And so we're going to start now attaching more functions to more routes. So let's take a look at our platform here. Let's just create now another route that we can go to. Let's copy this one. app.route/success, and then we return a function called success, and then that returns a string called success. Do we all see that there? Very simple. We have the app decorator. This is telling us what this is that's following. This is going to a route in the app called /success. Here's the function. It runs, it returns a string. It's the same as what we already have. I don't need to explain it in depth. Okay, so Control C. What I want to show you is how to switch between routes now. Okay, now we have one route that's this base route and another one called success. One returns hello world, the other one returns success. So in order to switch between the two, right, all I need to do is type in that route right there, /success. In fact, I'll just copy it and paste it in right there. And if I enter, success. When can we give a website name to the web page instead of pulling it with an IP address? Ah, really great question. It's when your website's already hosted on a server and you have that domain name already, and then you can add that domain name to your already existing hosted website as a route through whatever service you bought to buy that domain name. Usually they're all taken up. Okay, so that's something that that's something that you would be able to do towards the end of the stack. Well, you'll be able to, as a black belt feature, host your website on another website. Adding a domain name itself isn't going to be part of the requirement, I believe, for the black belt, but you can definitely do that if you want to try and manage that, if you already have a domain name added. So we're not there yet. Let's just not get too far ahead. So we have our two routes, our base route and a success route. Looking good, right? So all I need to do then to switch back between routes and messages is switch the text there. So switched it back to nothing, back to success. Okay. I know this is really, really simple, but I got to know that you guys are following along. I'm not jumping, not doing big steps here, baby steps. How well do we understand how to switch between routes? Cool. Looking good. Numbers are all there. The key is adding the right route name after the 5,000. Okay, so let's add another route name. Let's add here, I'll show you guys a trick if you guys don't already know it. So if I click this word success here and I do Control D or Command D, then I can just switch all three words here and make it Python. Okay. Now I have a route called Python, a function called Python, and it's going to return a string called Python. Python, enter. Oh no. What's going on here? What happened? Well, we didn't actually start our server. And the reason the server stopped is because we made too many edits to our server at once. When we overwhelm our server while it's already running, it's going to shut off. It's like working on an engine that's already running. So it shut off already for us. And that's why when we tried to run it again, we got this access denied. So let's take a look at our terminal again, restart our server, python3 server.py. Okay, enter. And there we are. Copy this route. Oh, it's already there. So if I refresh it on this Python route, this should make it appear. Oh no. Okay, what's going on here? Enter. Oh, now I'm locked out for some reason. Okay, let's restart this from scratch. I'm going to Control C, exit, and just check to see where I am. I'm in Hello Flask. Did I save this? Yes, this is saved. Okay, I'm going to restart my environment. Pip env shell Python 3. Okay. Huh. I seem to be locked out. Let's see why. Well, maybe this is a learning lesson. Sorry.
This is a Mac issue. Just
Yes,
change your port
yes.
to 5001.
That's what I was going to say. Okay.
Sorry, I'll show it.
No, good. It's good. I don't mind. So what the issue is here, and in case you run into this yourself, is it's a Mac issue. It's a Mac issue. And the reason is, for some reason, the AirPods for the Mac seem to be on 5,000. And so it wants to connect to my AirPods and something's interfering here. So I need to change the port on my server. It's this specific number that's by default here when I create my pip environment that takes in this number. So I'm going to change it to something else. I can change it to either 5001 or 8,000. I like 8,000, but there's no reason to choose one or the other over the other. So what I'm going to do is right here where it says app.run, debug equals true. I'm going to put a comma here and say host equals local host. Okay. And then comma port equals 8,000 now. All right. Let's see here. This crashed because we added too much code at once while I was running. That's okay. We expect that. So here we're going to restart our server, python3 server.py. Now we're running on localhost 8000. So in case you have a Mac and you run to that same issue, we can avoid that pitfall by changing the number. And here we are back to hello world. Okay, so let's continue. We are going to go to that route success and success. Now, if we want to go to the route Python, we say Python, and we have the word Python. Okay, Simon, I see your hands raised. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. The route, like in the URL, that doesn't have anything to do with what's displayed, right? Like you could display anything at that. Like you could display success for
You can
Python or
display
whatever, right?
anything on any route, in fact.
Okay. Okay.
So
That's what I
can
thought. I just
make-
want to make sure because they were all the same as the route name.
Yeah, I can make this one say Simon, and I can make this route success with the function success return Kyle, and then I can make the route for Python to return Yen. What it renders in the return doesn't have to match up with the name of the function or the route. And the name of the function or the route doesn't have to match either. So let me just show you this real quick. So here I am on my Python route, Python, and here I get Yen, right? And so now if I go to my success route, I get Kyle. So it doesn't matter. It's a good question. What is it considering to be localhost? Yes. Is it our computer? Yes, it's the host of the environment that is hosting the program running. Okay, so then let's just do one more thing to show you guys. It doesn't matter what the function name is. You can just call this anything. You can call this something. And this doesn't matter at all either. This doesn't matter. Okay. And so let's take a look. I'm going to go back to my base route. Hey, we get Simon again. Did I put an exclamation mark for Simon? Yeah, okay, there it is. And then I put success. It works all the same. Okay. So the function and the route name can be different different from the string as well. Go to my Python route and there's the end. Okay, do we all see how we can switch between routes, how the names of the functions and routes don't need to match, and we can make it render whatever we like? That was a good question. I wouldn't have known that maybe we would have tripped up on that. So I'm gonna launch a poll just to see how we're doing. Do we understand what we're doing so far? Yes, this lecture is recorded. We had a question of whether the route has to match the function name and the return. And no, what this routes us to is the name of the function. The name of the function, the value of a function, right? The value of the function is its return. So the return gives this value to no matter. And when we go to this route, we return Simon. The end result is what we're wondering if it has to be the same as this, right? And so the end result can be different as the route. The end result can be different. And in fact, what we're going to do now is instead of just returning strings, how about we do something better? Let's return HTML. And let's build pages on HTML and use this Python server to return an HTML file instead of just this string that we wrote. That way that we can use our front-end skills and then connect it to our backend. Okay, so before we do that, let's take a look here at our platform and just look at a couple more things here. Remember how functions work? Functions work this way. They have parameters. And with this parameters that they receive arguments. that they can use that data, that you can print a name, you can add that parameter to your return, and you can even put this as an argument in your app.route decorator to be entered into your function. Okay, so let's do something related to this here. And we'll do, let's see here. Yes, we'll go over this whole page actually before we start rendering HTML pages. Okay, so let's continue on with routes. And I just want to make sure that we are following along here. Routing. So we talked about what routes do, how they work, what the decorator is, how to add functions. We are still continuing to talk about routers, but we're going to talk about how to pass in these variables. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this code here and take a look at it. All right, so I'm going to copy this into my server below my Python. And now it's going to say hello. And what we have here is a route with this double caret, right? This is the necessary syntax. Okay, we know that, okay, this is where the parameter is. This is a string, okay? And within this string, we enter the name of the parameter that's being received here. So this does have to match. This does have to match with this in order for us to use whatever we type in our routes in our function and in our returns. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, so let me take a look at my server. My server's still running. So that change didn't break it. I would have expected it to, but it didn't. Okay, I see that I can continue. So what I'll do is I'll continue here. I'm going to say /hello/ picking on a random name, Tyler. Hello / Tyler, enter. And what I have here now is a dynamic rendering of whatever I'm entering here in my search bar. Right? So now my page is receiving information to display. It's receiving it here, it's displaying it here. And the way that we did that was just by saying receive a parameter, print it. Let's see it printed here on the terminal. Tyler. There's Tyler. And we printed his name, and then we said return hello, this string plus whatever name. So it's a concatenation. We've concatenated what we received as the name in the route through the parameter here to this return. This print doesn't do anything as far as passing information, but yes, this name was received from this route entry. Okay, let's take a poll. I want to understand how well we're seeing this work. This shouldn't take so much explanation, right? Because we should know how a function works, how it receives parameters, and how it can return values to give value to the function. So I'm glad you guys are finding this interesting. Let's continue then. Okay, there's a couple more things we need to learn about routes. We can also receive different types of values here. Okay, let's look at this one. This one has ID. How is it different than the one above? Ah, look at this here. This receives a username and ID. And well, we're putting both in the routes, I see. Okay, we're putting username and ID in the route. And so we're returning just basically 2 now. Okay, so let's up this. Let's up this to 2. I'm gonna take this here. Let's just copy it all together. Just take the whole thing. We don't need to edit anything. Okay, I'm gonna paste it in, enter a couple times. Users, username, ID. If we don't enter a value for every single one, it's gonna break. And I'll show you. I'll show you with this one. Let's look at this hello name one. Okay. Hello / hello. And if I just leave it at that, there is no route for just hello. You need a name. Hello. Mix. Nope, it broke. Okay. Oh, it's on 5,000. Get off of 5,000. All right. Hello, Brooks. Okay. So we need both values or the route won't work. If you just leave it at hello, it'll break. So keep that in mind. And now we have more than one value we're entering into the route. Username / ID. So now we have more than one that we're entering into the route. And let's see how this works. I'm reading the chat as well, so give me a second to read your notes. For every app.route argument being passed, is it reference certain pages? Oh, Vincent, I'll let you look at that while I'm continuing here. Okay. So here we need a username and ID. Okay, so let's do that. Let's say username, I'll say myself. And then ID. It's still broken. That's sad. Okay, so then what did we do wrong? Let's see if we misplaced something here. It's a very delicate dealing with code and then like breaking. So let's see.
Users.
Users. Ah, perfect. I didn't even follow my own advice that I just gave. You need the whole entire route. Thank you, Manjira. And there we are. So this argument takes in, so this function takes in 2 parameters, username and ID. This was essential. I got a little excited just thinking I needed that. But remember, the whole route, as I was just corrected, users, username, and then ID. I printed both, so let's see that in the terminal. Here I am. And then username, this is just a string, and then we add a concatenation of the username plus another string plus the ID that we passed through this here. All right. Did everyone get that? It's just slightly more complex. Okay, so I see that there's some possible hangups here that we're encountering in our understanding. Could be we're just learning a lot. Could be we need to go over this a bit more. So I see most of us are getting it though, so let's continue. All right, so we have our routes now. We're able to customize our routes and return values that we are entering into our routes. And that's the end of this here, except there's one more type of information that we want to give you about routing. And it's the fact that sometimes we need information or data in the route to be specific, right? Data types. Oh no, I just copied the same thing. Okay, take it. Here we have hello. Okay, that's our first part of our route. A name, it takes in a name, and then int num. What do you think this prevents us from doing? Let's take a look. I'll show you what I mean. Python 3 server.py. And then now that oh no. What's going on here? Python 3 server.py. View function mapping. Oh, okay. I must be having something wrong here. Line 44. Self args. Okay, line 44. Something about the way I pasted this in is not liking it.
You have another function called hello.
Yes. So, okay. Right. It's good that I make these mistakes for you guys in case you run into these errors. What happened here? I ran into an error, and thank you to Tyler, I am able to get out. So this is the error. I'm not able to run this route here called hello, then name, and then this other argument that I would pass in, because there's already one on my page that's called hello and name. It's too similar, right? Even if I deleted this, let's see. Let's try and run this. Okay, it's not going to allow it for that either. Okay, so let's take this out all together. And here we go. So I want to go to hello, and then the name, and then the ID. / hello / Jacob / 33. Oh, what happened here? Well, we said in the return a F string, and in this F string, take in that name and multiply it by the number that we have in the ID. So when we returned here, we got Jacob times 33. Yes, parameter values cannot be too similar. Even one here in the slash. Did you see that what I did there? I cannot have this one be even hello / like this, or else it's going to crash my server, or it's not going to let it run.
So they all have to be different, each value in the parameter? Like you can't have any duplicates throughout your whole file?
Yeah, you can't have, you can have, like, for example, let's say this one here. You could let's go back to hello. I can make it hi hello, right? And there's that similarity in that hello there, but this one leads with hello. So I can say, oh no, it's not even running. See, even this here, it's not gonna allow this. So yes, I think I was even.
So it just says it needed to start with a slash on line 23.
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh, throwing myself off.
Oh, so it still works. Okay, so if as long as you have like ones around it that are surrounding that are different, it's okay.
Yeah, what's the issue here now? It's saying function mapping is overriding existing endpoint function on hello.
You just can't have two functions with the same name.
Yeah.
So you have two function called
Oh, with
hello.
the same name. Oh, they're
Yeah.
the same name. Oh,
Function, yeah, the def.
Yeah. So after def, hello has to be something unique.
okay.
it-
So it wasn't about the routes.
No, the
having-
routes. I mean, routes are. You can't have two routes that's going to the same route, or it's going to get confused. But yeah, just that function name has to be something unique.
Okay. So let's do a little testing. We got to clarify what we learned here. So here I have a route called hi hello, and this is a function called greetings. So this should no doubt have its result should work. It's totally different from everybody else. One positional argument. Okay. So this, oh, okay. It receives a name. And then, so this is going to be name. What did I do here? Oh, okay. I got to restart the server when I make a change. There we are. Okay. So this works. And the name of the function has to be different. Okay. So that's where I was lost for a second. This here, right here, this function name was called hello. These routes were similar, but the function names also have to be different from each other. So let's see here. I just want to test something really quick. The routes here, say I don't require a name. Okay, let's just say that. Okay. So to answer the earlier question, see this here in the route can be similar and they're in different places. So that can still coexist. Let's see if we can lead with just this here. Yeah. Okay, I just want to see this. Okay, let's see my server, restart my server. All right.
You got rid of
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hi.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this route takes us only here. Okay, we need the full route of hello name and then the ID for the int or the num for the int. But they can coexist. So sorry to confuse us there. This here can still coexist with this. The reason I was getting a bug is because these functions had the same name. So this one here called hello, let's change this back to hello. And this should break us. So if I run it again, broken. Okay, so what we learned is that we can't have two routes with the same function name. We have to change the function name as well. Okay, so let's change this back to greetings. And this is back to hello, name, and then the number. So let's do that again. Hello, Austin. Oh, did I break it? Let's see. Restart the server, make sure that's on. And there we go. Austin. Austin, have you ever been to Austin? I recently went this year. It's pretty familiar, actually. I didn't really think it was that different. Okay, I guess the function name should not be repeated, but other parameters could, yes. So when we say other parameters, do we mean, yes, routes, like what we could enter here in the routes? Yes, those can be repeated. But in order to go to your specific route, you need those specific arguments there that you would enter in here in the search bar. Okay, let's do another poll. I need to find that you guys are still with me. Okay, we're all still here. Pretty good. Okay, now let's continue. We're almost done. Let's look at our plan. We set up path variables. We set up routes accepting those variables. And we sent our variables from the browser into our page, our view. And we also learned about how this accepts different data types. So if I put Austin potato, it's not going to work, right? Because we have specific data types now in our route. This one here is for an integer. If I wanted it to be specific to be a string, right? So if I didn't want a number here, let's see, Austin. Well, actually, hold on, let me test this before I say anything. It's specific to the type of data that it would need, right? So we can say as well, string name, hello, okay. And if we say hello, 13, 14, now it's going to read it as a string, so it can receive a number. Okay, so this converts it to a string, and this requires it as a number. All right. Last thing on our agenda here is setting up static files. Our static files here, we have CSS, image files, JavaScript files, and our, well, we need our templates as well. So we're going to talk about templates and static files all in one. Static files are really easy, but templates here is what we want to emphasize now. Okay, so templates refer to HTML templates. What is this here? This is a practice. And we can get this also from the platform. So I can borrow this code from the platform as well. But so the ultimate goal is to say hello Flask and then say /templates. Well, no, I don't want to do that. Actually, I don't know why. I think this is the file path location. What I want to do is just render from a base location the index.html and have some code on that index.html. All right. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to create some HTML files. So let's go to my VS Code. And I'm going to create a folder called templates. This templates folder is going to hold all my HTML files. So I'm going to create one called index.html. Okay. And in this, we know how to create an HTML file, right? So we say exclamation mark, H1, howdy, howdy, howdy. Okay. So we want to see this page from our routes. We're going to try to link it to it. And the way we do that is by finding the correct file path location from our server. We also have to import something here. So let's go top to bottom, sorry. Top to bottom, we need to fix our imports in our server. Okay, so let's look here. The very top here, we have from Flask, import Flask. So we need to slightly change this up now. We need to incorporate a comma and then render template. This is going to be our tool that allows us to connect to our HTML. Render template is a feature of Flask that allows us to render those templates. Okay. So here's step one, import render template from Flask. Okay, step two, we need to see that this is the same. This is all there already. Okay, that's fine. We know that this is there. We have this app route that goes to base slash, and we already have one in our file that does that. So we got to be careful not to, well, what we'll do here is we'll just delete it. Just delete it. We're going to replace it. This is now our new slash, and it's called hello world. The function name is hello world. So we know we're safe to copy this. We don't have a function name on our file called hello world yet. So we can copy this. And then we take this return render template index.html. So if I copy this, here we are. And I want to see now that this is connected to this. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear. I just sometimes like to clear the terminal to have a fresh view, so I'm not confused with prior bugs or whatever it was that I was seeing before. Okay, and I'm going to restart it. Let's take this away as well. I want to just go to my base there. And I'm going to say Python 3 server.py. And then once this is here, I press enter. And now we've rendered an HTML file from our server. So we've completed this step. Let's see how well we understood how I did what I did there. Step one was to create a templates folder and insert the index.html file in there. Step two was to check my server.py file to see that I had rendered templates. And then step three was to say, well, this app.route that we gave this unique name, hello world, we said return, and this is the key here, rendered template, and within this parameter here, we say the name of the file, index.html, and this does have to match. Okay, so we have now connected an HTML file through to our server. So now we can host a website, right? So we can say whatever we want on this HTML file to say. Hello world. Hello world, and then you know, lorem ipsum lorem times 43. There we go. Okay, so now we're able to host a really basic looking website from our server.py. We're getting somewhere. All right, we're moving forward. We are now having a kitchen able to serve food, even if it's really minimal, to our guests. All right, so now let's continue. Couple more things we need to learn here, right? Because what we were able to do before we were rendering templates was pass in arguments to be received, and then we could see what they were on the page. But we haven't learned how to do that yet with the type of template that we have here. So we still want to be able to pass in information from here to here so that it can be received here dynamically, so that it could change based on what's entered. So there's a couple more steps we have to take in order to be able to do that. Okay, so now that we've got this up and running, let's talk about templates. Okay, so we're going to pass some information to our index.html here, and then we're going to try and receive it. The way we're going to pass information is through the return here of this function. So let's look at our own function. We're not going to copy this one, but we're going to use what we see here in our own function. All right, so let's go here. And actually, you know what? I do want to use a unique function. No, I don't. I'm just going to take this here. I'm going to copy it and paste it right there where I see it. Okay, so now this return is returning the value of index.html, the phrase hello, and then times 5. So now this is passing this information to this index.html. It's being passed, but since we don't have anything here that indicates what those things are, the phrase and times, hello and 5, it's still not received yet. So we need to pass the ball, and then let's go ahead and receive it. How do we receive it? Well, we have something here called Jinja. This is the tool that's going to help us parse through information and data. And you can do logic on it too. You can use Jinja to do logic on an HTML page. Here we have a for loop for X in range, and then you can say how many times, and receive that times, that value, from the route, and then you can say use it as a variable. Okay, so let's copy this over to our HTML. Okay. Delete. There we go. So what do we have? We have an H3 my Flask template. We have the phrase, which contains this. Well, let's pull it side by side. What am I passing in here? Phrase, phrase, times, times. So it matters what I call this variable name here, because that's what's going to be received. The value of the variable, that's to the right as usual. So then we can use the value of the variable once we receive it, but we need to find it by its name. And the names that we gave these variables are phrase and times. So here we are, phrase and times. Below this, so this should just render an H tag and 2 P tags. Below this, we have the beginning of our for loop. And as you notice, I didn't say anything yet, but as you notice, there's a special way that variables are rendered. It's by the double curly bracket on each side, and then the name of the variable inside. Okay, that's for variables. For loops, it's this special phrasing: curly bracket, percentage sign, and then we have for X in range, a lot like a Python for loop. And then you give that parameter there for how many times you want to loop. The way you close this beginning of the for loop is by you close the end of the beginning of the for loop by putting the percentage sign and the curly bracket, the closing one. Then we have the variable, which looks just the same way that we have here. Okay, phrase. So for how many times in that we enter 5, we should say hello 5 times. So it's going to loop through 5 times and render that phrase hello 5 times. And then what we need here, this is necessary, is the end for. This is what's telling us that for loop is over now. Whatever you wanted to loop through, you're rendering within the opening and closing of the for loop. All right, lastly, we have an if statement. We have an if statement that says if phrase, okay, and since this is already an agenda statement here, curly bracket, percentage sign, if phrase is equal to, remember double equal sign is asking a question, is it equal to hello? If it is, if yes, then we render this. The phrase says hello. Okay, so let's see this now. And where do we know where do we need to go to? We need to go to this one here, this route. So let's go to that route. Is my server running? Yes. So we just need to rephrase it. So what we see here is what we expected to see, that H3, my P tag, it's a little big because I'm zoomed in for us. H1, H3, two P tags, phrase and hello. They tell us what the data is that we received here in this route. Hello and 5. And then we have hello 5 times. What does that due to? It's due to this for loop here. And then we have this last phrase, depending on an if statement. If the phrase equals hello, then return this P tag. So let's go ahead and change this around so that we don't see the if statement. If we change the phrase name, the if statement should break, right? So I'm going to go here to see this disappear and type in goodbye. So if I refresh, it's gone. Phrase is goodbye here. And this if statement no longer triggers because the phrase is not equal to hello. That's no longer true. The phrase is goodbye. So this whole thing does not show. This still does what it's supposed to do because it's not an if statement. It's a for loop. It's going to do it no matter what. 5 times. Let's increase the times just to see something else. Okay. There you go. 15 goodbyes. It's like leaving a family reunion. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Okay. So let's take a poll. How well are we following along? Okay, looking a little better. And at this point, the only thing left is for us to connect our CSS image file and JS files to our HTML. So we're going to show how to do that. That's going to be really simple. And then we're going to close this out. Okay. So let me just take a look here at one thing before I do anything else. Does anyone have any questions at this point? No? Okay. Okay. Now, what if we want HTML and CSS on our what if we want CSS and JavaScript and images connected to our HTML? Well, there's a little bit more of a process that we're going to have to go through than what we did when we were doing WebFun. We're going to have to create a static folder. Okay, I can either use the VS Code or I can just yeah, why not just use VS Code? Okay, so I'm going to create a static folder, static, and inside this one I'm going to say style.css, and then actually I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let me inside this static folder create well, let me create one more thing. I'm going to create a script.js inside my. Okay. I have now 2 files in my static folder, but it's still not yet complete. This is not what I want to see. I want to see these in their own folders. So I need to here in this static folder, create a JS folder and a CSS folder. Okay. I'm going to pull this into the JS folder and this into the CSS folder. This is the problem with creating files and folders in CS code. It's a little bit clunky. See, I'm like when you create one folder, I think the default here, let's see. JS, if you want to put it in that specific folder, it's just a little messy. So, you know what I can do instead is show you guys how to do it on the terminal. That's a lot cleaner in my view. But you would just do it the same way. You see how I get tripped up. I hate actually creating files and folders in the Visual Studio. So sometimes here, you'll have to start or stop your server to work. Or another thing you could do is just open another terminal. Okay, I have another one here I can use. And I don't want to really leave this location. I like this where this is. But I do want to work to make this thing work. So I'm going to delete everything here, start over. Ooh, did I delete the HTML file as well? Am I on the right VS Code? Oh, here we are. Okay, so I didn't even create the static folder on the I think it's been coding here too long. Okay, so let's see. ls cd desktop. I'm gonna go to my Python 2 folder, go to hello Flask, and then go to my then I'm gonna make a folder called static mkdir static. Hello. Okay, where's this? Go into the static folder, static. Okay, and then I'm going to create 3 folders in here. One called the CSS, so mkdir CSS. Let's see it as we create it. So there's that one, mkdir image folder. Okay, now we should see 2. Okay, it's a lot easier to create files and folders through your terminal, in fact. So, and then last one, let's make a JS folder. Okay, now let's go into our CSS folder and create a CSS file. So cd CSS, and then touch style.css. There's my CSS file. Let's get out of here, cd ... Let's go to our image. No, we don't have any images. Let's go to our JS file, cd.js. And then now that we're here, let's create a file in here called script.js. Oh, no. Touch script.js. That's how we create a file. Okay, so we should see that here. There it is. Okay, so I highly recommend using Terminal to create files and folders. It's just a lot less sticky than using this system here. And you get more familiar, and it's more fun. Okay, so now the question is, now that I've created these files in what I've called a static folder that holds CSS, a folder for CSS and for images and for JavaScript, how do I connect it to our HTML file? And why? Why do you guys think that I have a static folder separated from my templates folder index.html? Any guess? Well, the reason is because we're going to have more than one templates folder here in this index.html. So this could be another file .html. And we're going to have all of our HTML files in this templates. In order to give them their own CSS or JavaScript, they're going to have to reach into the static folder to get that property from CSS or JavaScript. And they can either borrow the same one or they can use their own separate ones, but they're going to have to exist in these areas. Okay, so then the question remains, how do we access them? Let's go ahead and figure that out. Okay, so in the head is where we're going to have to link our files. Let me expand this a little bit. And below the title, I'm going to say link. And it's going to say style sheet still. But in this href, I'm going to have this double curly bracket. And the first thing I'm going to put inside this curly bracket is URL _4 and then parentheses. Quotes, static. Okay, get out of these quotes, comma. And then file name equals CSS, because that's the name of the folder that we're in, CSS, this one here, and then we pick the file name, /style.css. Okay, so now we should be connected, but we don't have anything in our CSS that tells us we are. So I'm going to just target everything here and make it red. That way I'll know I've affected my, but I've touched my CSS, that they're connected. Okay, so let's take a look at my, this is still running, my server's still running. So all I need to do is get back to my browser. And I should see this. I must have had a typo. Yes, I'm missing an E there. So let's go back. File name. There we are. So now I've successfully linked my CSS to my HTML. My text is no longer black, it's red. And the way I did that was by adding the style sheet. Okay, so then one more thing, we have to link our JavaScript, right? And the way that we do that is very similar. We see at the very bottom, same place we usually put our JavaScript. Where's our body? Oh, I think I deleted the bottom of the body. Whoops. So let's add that back in. Okay. And then HTML. It was kind of somehow still working without that. All right, so I'm at the bottom of the body again. And now I'm going to add a script tag. Script src, that means source. And again, double curly bracket. We'll say URL for quotes static. It's the same file, folder name, and then file name equals script.js. What am I missing here? Oh. I think there's an extra quote. Oh, no. Okay, so I need an ending to my script tag. I'm still missing something.
Script.js.
SCRIPT. Well, no, that's still not gonna. Oh, file name. Here we are. Yep, that's still another typo.
It's the double quote within the double quote, I believe. So around script, maybe we'll do single quote.
Oh, very nice catch, Vincent. Okay, so everyone, this is another learning lesson. Whenever you have double quotes, see here, this script here has script.js has double quotes around it. When you see this, double quotes, and you see an error, look to see on the outside, as Vincent just did, if there's quotes already surrounding it. If there are, they have to be of a different type. So let me switch this to a single quote. And there we are. We have this running. Now, what can we say on our script.js to see if this is connected?
But then you also have two closing script tags.
Okay. So making all kinds of mistakes here. Let me delete the other one. Oh, okay. So if there's one other little mistake is that I'm missing this closing caret. It must have deleted that. There we are. Okay, so here's our our script tag. And let's make it console log something. You should now be able to inspect and then see the console. Is the script tag not connected? We're not seeing console logs.
Do you have your JavaScript in a JS file or a JS folder?
Yes. Oh, maybe I don't have that defined in
Yeah.
my index here, what type of folder it is. So, oh, I have to go JS / oops, little typo there. JS / script tag. So let's see here. There we are. Hello world. So you got to be careful to add that exact path name. I had to add this name of this folder and then the name of the file. Here it is, JS. This is here. And then script.js. That's the exact location. And now we can see our JavaScript. So now we're cooking with oil, as the phrase goes, because we have Python and JavaScript running on the same program. HTML, CSS, all working together with one. All right. And here is where we are going to find out how well we're doing. So how do you guys feel about today's lesson? A lot of stuff, right? I tried to take it as slow as I could. It wasn't perfect, but we found a lot of errors, a lot of common errors that we could all, easily run into. Don't have the same names for the functions. Get the file names exact. Don't get typoed in your writing. So it's best to copy paste. We learned about routing, about variables, about Jinja, how we can write for loops and if statements in HTML now. So now we can have a really dynamic page, right? We can now make the stuff that we enter here be multiplied here. And so you can use your imagination to how we could use this tool so far. But this isn't the end, right? We have a lot more to go. So let's look at our schedule. Okay, I'm going to post your guys' poll results. And so here we have just now finished the afternoon lecture. You guys have this assignment, HTML table, to finish by the end of the day. Okay, here's where you enter in a route name, and it should give you that information that you would request in your HTML file through the data that you have in your server. So you have playground and HTML table today. Okay, so get these two assignments done. We're going to open up the breakout rooms in just a moment so that we can work on that. And, it's been an awesome day with you guys. I'm super excited now that we're at Flask. We have one more day tomorrow with Flask. It's going to be using now a new tool within Flask called Session, and then we're going to deal with Post. Okay, posting to our HTML page. Then on Monday, we have this day off, holiday, and then next day, we start up again with our database, MySQL. So we're going to change it up next week, but we still have one more day to go with Flask and routing tomorrow. Okay, the homework is to read hidden inputs. So please give this a read before we start tomorrow, so we don't get those 1s and 2s in the polls. The best way to understand the lecture is to read ahead and do the assignments already there, if you can. Okay, so do some reading for hidden inputs. This is really valuable information. Hidden inputs are inputs that are hidden, as you can already tell. So what is an input? Well, we're going to talk about that tomorrow when we talk about posts. Okay, so some posts are going to be hidden, some are going to be seen, and we're going to figure out why. Okay, everyone. So let's go ahead and end the recording. The recordings are really going to be up after this, so sorry for the delay. And let's stop the recording.